Hello, and welcome to today's video. Today, I wanted to show you what a perfect Titan looks like. I have 4,000 hours into Destiny 2. Over 400 of those are on Titan alone. A lot of those are on Hunter due to back when I used to be a Hunter main. But in the last 6 months, I have played 95% of my gameplay time here on Titan. And in today's video, I wanted to show you how my Titan looks in my eyes with it perfected. I have almost every single major build in the game that you would use for basically every endgame activity completely done. There is one exception to this. My Arc Titan has no build for it right now. This is because in less than 2 weeks, Arc 3.0 will release, and with not knowing how Arc is going to be in Arc 3.0, I did not want to go ahead and make a change to how I would build Arc. So for right now, there's not going to be a Crest of the Falling Star build. In here, there will be 3 different solar builds. There will be the big popular Void build, and there will also be a Behemoth build, and along with my PvP build for Titan. My PvP build is simply just missing a masterwork. Other than that, it is in my eyes perfect for PvP. Alright, with that being said, let's go ahead and start showing off how I perfected Titan in 200 hours of gameplay time. Alright, first up, let's show off the solar builds. So for solar today, we have 3 different builds. We have my Consecration Titan build, we have my Path of the Burning Steps build, and then we also have my Synthoceps build. The only build I'm going to go into any real depth here with is the Synthoceps one, due to the fact that it is the only one I have not covered here on the channel. The other one's already here on the channel, and you can go look at the build videos for those. Alright, with that being said, how is Titan perfected now? With the changes to resilience, in my eyes, the perfect Titan stats are 100 resilience, 80 recovery, 100 discipline. The reason for this is in most cases, there is a way in which you can heal yourself and not need to run 100 recovery. 100 recovery simply allows you to be in the fight as much as possible. With both Void and Solar Titan, you have plenty of health regeneration already being given to you, so you don't actually have to really worry about your health regeneration at all. So, what does this build look like? For those of you who haven't seen it, this build's pretty overall simple. Running Rattle Barricade because it's the shortest cooldown. Running Hammer Titan, running the Throwing Hammer. I run Thermites or Fusions. I switch between either one whenever I want. And then I'm running Consecration and Roaring Flames along with Lordly Splendor. The reason for this is I always get the healing from the Sunspot. And then I also will get the damage bonus from Roaring Flames to add into Consecration to give Consecration the ability to absolutely nuke a target, even at like the GM level. Consecration can be used to just nuke one enemy or a whole wave of enemies if needed. Fragments are pretty basic. Torches to give me Radiant, Searing to give me melee energy on Scorches, and also to give me a recovery bonus. And then Ashes and Char. Char is for 2 reasons. The conditions will spread Scorch, and then also for the Discipline bonus. That way I'm actually only building 170-80 here, which is a huge difference in the total amount of stats I actually have to build for, and lets me be a little more free with my armor in the long run. Alright, next up is my Path of the Burning Steps build, and y'all will see something cool here, because you get to see live what happens when I just click in dim. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to cover this now. Dim allows you to, Destiny Item Manager, for those of you who don't have it, go into Dim, sign with your Bungie account, link it. You can save loadouts. All of your mods, all of your armor customization, all of your subclass options, all of that will save, and you can just simply switch builds very quickly. So my second build for the solar section of this video is my Path of the Burning Steps build. Path of the Burning Steps is one of my favorite Titan exotics because it allows you to build, instead of into your abilities, you're actually just building into your weapons. The goal here is to keep the buff Firewalker, which will give you up to a 40% damage bonus to your weapons up at all times. And so you can use different weapons that don't necessarily maybe have a damage booster on them, or even if you have weapons with a damage booster on them, you can make them even stronger. For instance, one of the most popular weapons this season is Callus Mini Tool, and it doesn't have a damage booster on it besides Surrounded. However, Incandescent's the better perk because you can spread Scorch to multiple targets. And with you running Incandescent, you can just get a 40% damage buff, which is higher than any other damage buff besides Surrounded at all times. And you can also stack that on top of becoming Radiant here with Ember of Torches. And because you're on Throwing Hammer, you can just go get it back at any time you need. And that way you always have Radiant applied to you. So with this build, you always have Restoration, you always have Radiant, and you always have Roaring Flames in case you need to kill a larger target with an ability. This build basically has it all, and then it also has insane weapon damage because you're always going to have Firewalker and Radiant stacked on top of each other. And then you also have Font of Might right here to help with your total damage boosting. Alright, so on to our next build, which will be our last solar build for today, which is Ye Old Synthocept Titan. I think this build is going to fall a little bit out of popularity. Recently, I've tried this build on the Grasp of Avarice final boss, and its damage felt okay. I think this build is going to stay one of those builds that you see a lot in Master and GM level strikes because it's so good at nuking champs, especially Solar Burn GMs and Solar Burn Master Nightfalls. I think you're going to see this build a lot then because it's so good at nuking champs because it is really bursty. And champs will often have the enemies around them to proc Synthocepts. But I think out of that, I think you're going to see a lot more Arc Titans next season, and you're going to see a lot more Void Titans next season once we're out of the just constant Synthocept meta overall. On this build, once again, our stats look very similar, 180, 100. Nothing really matters here outside of your aspects, and then you're making sure you're on Throwing Hammer. For the fragments, I have torches, so I have Radiant up when I need it. I have Char on to give me the extra discipline amount, so that way I can hit the 180, 100 mark. And then I have Ashes and Solace. This is just to make sure that my Restoration and Radiant effects last as long as possible. Alright, for our mods on this build, since I said I would actually cover this build, I have a High Energy Fire. This is to allow your weapons to do the most damage they can in case you can't actually use your hammer for fighting something. We have a Well of Life. This is to give us the max regeneration possible. And then we have plenty of spots here. Sorry for the yawn. We have plenty of spots here for champion mod. You have 5 spots open, so you could easily go like Unstoppable Glaive this season, and then whatever other champion mod you would want to go for. And then on to the chest piece. The chest piece has an elemental charge. This is so that way the wells we do create will let us become charged with light, which will give us High Energy Fire, which will give us a damage bonus onto our weapons on top of Radiant. We have a melee Wellmaker here on our boots, along with a recuperation. Melee Wellmaker is just so that way we become charged with light, and also give us our health regeneration bonus here with Well of Life. And then lastly, onto our mark. Our mark has a classy restoration for the season. Obviously, next season this would come off. This would become 2 utility kickstarts instead. The reason for the utility kickstarts is this will allow you to keep your barricade up and use your barricade as a protection thing in case you need your barricade to be up. And then we would add in a second, we'd add in a melee Wellmaker and switch the boots over to Bountiful Wells next season once Classy Restoration is gone. But until that point, there's no reason not to run Classy Restoration on this build, since it'll help keep you alive. Alright guys, that's going to be it for the solar section of this video. Now on over to Stasis. Alright, on to Stasis. So, Stasis Titan. Is it meta? Probably not. In all reality, probably not, because Stasis Hunter and Stasis Warlock exist, and if you're looking at the sole purpose of having somebody run Stasis, I think Stasis Warlock and Stasis Hunter do it better. But that's not to say that Stasis Titan is bad. I actually think Stasis Titan is still criminally underrated. I think if you don't have a Stasis player, but you have a Titan, and you need a Stasis player, I think a Stasis Titan is fine. I totally do. So what do I run on my Stasis Titan? Well, first off, as you can see, it is the only class with triple 100. The main reason for this is Stasis Titan has no real way to get health regeneration outside of the God Roll IS Luna. For those of you who don't know, the God Roll IS Luna is not what you think it is. The God Roll IS Luna is Unrelenting Headstone. Unrelenting procs off of the Headstone Crystal Shatter. So you could always have Unrelenting procced as long as you're getting double kills with the Headstone Crystal Shatter, which you should be once you build into the rest of this class. I also have a Headstone Auto Rifle and a Headstone Pulse Rifle. Right now, currently don't have a Headstone Scout because I don't like 150 Scouts in PvE. So I'm waiting on a 200 or 180 Scout with or even a 260 Scout with Headstone on it, and then that way I can run it on all builds. That way I can run, I will have one of each archetype of main weapon besides SMG and bow for Headstone. Alright, on to the class. Running Towering, running Catapult, Shiver Strike, Dust Fields. Dust Fields are the important thing here. Your whole job with this build, if you're going to run it, you need to be able to place 2 Dust Fields for every 1 Stasis turret. So your job with this build on a Titan is to be able to farm the living crap out of Dust Field Grenades. The reason for that is Dust Field Grenades are your best ad control ability. But Dust Fields also in turn will give you Diamond Lances. Diamond Lances are shockingly strong. They do spawn relatively far away from you, and it does mean you have to go pick them up, but they are shockingly strong with what they can do. For our aspects, we are running Howl of the Storm. This is to give us a instant freeze in case something gets close to us, and also give us an ability to spawn a wave of Stasis Crystals near us and use them along with Whisper of Chains as a extra damage reduction for us on top of already running 100 resilience. So you would be at 65% resilience, if I remember correctly, the way it would multiply. So that would be a huge damage reduction overall. For our fragments, we are running Whisper of Fissures. This is to help with not only the shatter of the Howl of the Storm crystal, it also helps with the shatter of the Diamond Lance crystal. It also helps with the shatter from enemies that are inside our Dust Field Grenades when they do shatter. It also helps with the shatter from our Headstone crystal. Our whole goal here is to boost as much shatter damage as we can while using Whisper of Fissures. We're then running Whisper of Shards. Because we have so many ways to create Stasis Crystals, we're going to use this on top of Heart of Inmost Lights grenade bonus to really farm us stasis, to really farm us energy for our Just Field grenades. Second, we're running Whisper of Rending. This is to allow things like IS Luna, things like Syncopation to one-shot their crystals when they spawn from Headstone. And this makes the crystal feel way more consistent to use overall. Next up, we're running Whisper of Durance. This is to allow our Dust Field grenades to last a little bit longer. They last a lot longer. And it allows us to have more dust fields out on the field at one time. And then lastly, our last one, which has two purposes, Whisper of Chains. Because it's a recovery bonus, so I'm actually only building to 100, 90, 100 here. And actually, with shards, I'm actually building 90, 90, 100, which really allows the stats to be pretty loose overall. But Whisper Chains also gives us a damage reduction when you're standing next to a Stasis Crystal or a frozen target. The Stasis Crystal is the much safer option. But the Stasis Crystal will allow us to get a extra damage reduction. It's 15% PvE for resist ×1. So that stacks on top of our already high resilience. On to our mods. Our mods here are Bountiful Wells. This is going to help us with the total number of wells we are creating. On to our gloves. Our gloves have a Seeking Wells. This is going to allow any wells we do spawn to spawn out at a distance from us, and then you can bring them in to you, because the Seeking Wells will seek you out within 15 meters of the wells. For our exotic, we're running a Well of Ordnance. You'll see where we're going with this in just a second, and how we're going to get those solar elemental wells to spawn. And then we're also running a Solar Resistance and a the Dying Star, so that way we have Void Resist on as well. And then on to the boots. The boots are on Solar with an Explosive Wellmaker. Some people are going to ask, well, how the heck do you spawn Explosive Wellmaker? The Shatter from Stasis Crystals and Stasis Frozen enemies counts as a Stasis Crystal as a explosive damage, and therefore you can spawn Solar Elemental Wells using Explosive Wellmaker, and therefore giving you your grenade back more often with Well of Ordnance. And then we have a second Well of Ordnance here on top of it to fully farm our grenade when we do get those explosions with our Shatter. We also have a Bomber on, and we have a Distribution on. If we had a Stasis Overload grenade, I would be taking Distribution off and be running that instead. But since our Overload this season is Molten, I will not be running any Stasis seasonal mods here. And the whole purpose of this would just be to be able to freeze and control enemies at any level of content. The two big things to remember here on Behemoth Titan is Diamond Lance spawns off of any Stasis weapon kill. It does not need to be a frozen target, just any Stasis weapon kill and it will die. And then second, Headstone weapons are very important to Stasis overall, so make sure you have as many Headstone weapons as possible that you like. Alright, that's going to be it for the Stasis build, and then we're going to go over to our last Perfected Titan build for this video, and we're going to hop into Void. Alright, and welcome into the last build. Welcome back to Void Titan. I still think Void Titan is overall Titan's most consistent, most versatile, best we've ever seen. Void Titan does everything you would want a subclass to do ever. And I lied, this is not our last build because we still have the PvP one to show you. So this is our second to last build. Void Titan is great. People, I think, are starting to overlook Void Titan because Solar Titan exists. But I think Void Titan still very much so has a place in the game as a whole. I think bubbles are still very much so useful. I think the ability to keep your team with an overshield basically constantly is incredibly underrated. I think the way this class can just murder everything in entire encounters for just some ability throwing and ability chaining is absolutely outstanding. Void Titan is still one of Destiny 2's best classes, and nothing is going to beat it for a really long time, I think. So what do I run on Void Titan? Well, I still run Controlled Demolition and I still run Bastion. However, I have switched over to the Rally Barricade. The reason for this is the Rally Barricade is on a shorter overall cooldown than the Towering Barricade. And so I run Rally Barricade here on Void Titan for PvE. I'm running the Shield Throw. This gives me a little chunk of Overshield when I don't have my Overshield, and then also allows me to start the chain with Heart of Inmost Light and Controlled Demolition. I am also running Vortex Grenades. I think they're the best grenade here. They're a little weak right now due to the damage reduction they're currently facing, but I think overall they are in still a pretty decent place, especially once you start having the chain going on with Heart of Inmost Light and them getting that Empowered Grenade X2 buff. For our fragments, we're taking a small resilience penalty here with Echo of Persistence. This just lets our Overshield last as long as possible. And then also if our friendly hunters invis us, it allows us to have the same invis timer as them. So that way when they need to invis us as a team, you can stay invis as long as they need you to. Second, we have Echo of Leeching. This is solely here to completely counter the stat decrease from Echo of Persistence, and then also the melee final blow starting health regeneration is also kind of nice, and allows you to play a little more aggressive, but mostly the whole purpose here is to completely counter the stat reduction from Echo of Persistence. And then lastly, we are running Echo of Remnants. This allows our grenade to be up as long as possible, and cause the most damage it can cause. So some people are going to ask, well, why aren't you on Expulsion? To be honest, Expulsion is really not noticeable. As good as it is, you're really not going to notice it here on Void Titan because you already have Controlled Demolition. And therefore, you're not going to really notice the explosions from Echo of Expulsion. All right, so for our mods here, we have a Bountiful Wells on the helmet. We have a Seeking Wells here on the gloves. This build is built very similarly to the Stasis Titan build. We have a Elemental Ordnance here on the chest piece. We have another Elemental Ordnance here on the boots. And then lastly, but not least, we have a Font of Wisdom or a Font of Might. Depends on what you're running. If you're not running a Void weapon, I recommend a Font of Might. This way, if you're running a Void primary, I recommend a Font of Might. This way you can boost your Void primary damage as much as you want. However, if you're not on a Void primary, which is totally reasonable and totally understandable, I highly recommend a Font of Wisdom. This will give you basically 100 intellect while it's on your screen. With how many Void Elemental Wills you are spawning to help with your ability cooldowns, you're going to have Font of Wisdom up a lot. So this build is effectively sitting at triple 100 just for simply running Font of Wisdom, which really helps with your super cooldown and lets you really farm those bubbles for your teammates so that way they have some protection. Alright, that's going to be it for our PvE section of this video. I have one PvP build that I run for PvP, and I'm going to cover that here in just a second, but that's going to be it for the PvE section of this video, so I would completely understand if people jumped out here. Also, I hope that everyone has enjoyed the video thus far. Now, let's hop into the last build for you today. Alright, last build of the video, and maybe some of the most important for some of you. I know a lot of my channel viewers are mostly PvE players, so you might be wondering, well, he has to play PvP some, so what does he play for PvP? Just like for PvE, Titan main, all the way through, mainly because hashtag peacekeepers. I'm a very aggressive player, always have been. And no matter what PvP game I play, I like being aggressive. I like being in people's faces, because that's where I feel the most comfortable. So what is my PvP build? I run Void Titan with Peacekeepers. I think PvP build crafting, I know this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, is unoriginal and very boring. There isn't a whole lot to do because combat mods, well, 98% of them don't really do anything for you in PvE. So I simply just build the class the way the class is best ran, and then I base my mods around making sure I have all my unflinchings and all my targetings and all my dexterities and things like that, and then just make my stat mods work as best as possible. Right now, I am short the 1 resilience. It's because my peacekeepers aren't masterworked, because I'm broke on masterwork materials after masterworking on my other builds for this video. So for my aspects, very similar to what I run in PvE, Controlled Demolition and Bastion. You'd be surprised how many doubles and triples I have gotten running Controlled Demolition. Recently, I switched off of Offensive Bulwark and onto Controlled Demolition. This is just because you get your grenade back pretty quick overall, and just the way you could throw, a spike grenade, because that's the ones I use in PvE, and just have that chance for that double kill is just so huge. I'm running Echo of Bleaching. This is not for the resilience bonus. This is actually for the what it says it does, the melee starting on health regeneration. I run a pellet shotgun, and pellet shotguns don't always kill, and so I'm always prepared to lead in with the melee afterwards and immediately start that health regen right away. I'm running Echo of Remnants. This is way my spike grenade lasts as long as possible and gives me the best chance possible to get that double kill. And then lastly, we are running Echo of Obscurity. This is solely for the stat bonus. This has really no other purpose than the stat bonus. Just the 10 extra recovery is so huge that it becomes, in my opinion, very much so worth running for the niceness of my stats, and stats matter the most inside of PvP. Now on to the armor. So because I'm running an SMG, I have a lot of mods open because my targetings and stuff are really cheap. So I'm running a Radiant Light. You'll see why I'm running a Radiant Light here in just a second once we get down to the class item. And a small recovery mod. This is just obviously to help get my stats. And then I'm running a submachine gun targeting and a shotgun targeting. Down to my gloves, I'm running a resilience mod and a shotgun dexterity. The reason I'm not running a extra like an SMG loader here or anything is you don't need an SMG loader here because your SMGs already load hecka quick with peacekeepers, and also if you just stow the SMG for a second, it will reload. But I am running shotgun dexterity, and next season when shotgun dexterity doesn't cost one mod slot, and it costs 5 again, I'm only gonna have one spot open here anyways, so I'm not gonna have space for anything else. On to the chest piece. The chest piece is running double SMG gun flinching. This way I can duel pretty much any weapon in the game as long as I'm in my effective range, and I should win because I should out time to kill basically every weapon in the game. And I'm going to be strafing so fast, the weapons to keep up with me, but shoot super slow are going to have trouble hitting me. I still have 3 open mod slots. There's not really anything I could run here that would help me any inside of PvP. So I just leave 3 extra mod slots open. Doesn't hurt me any. And still leaves me with plenty of space for unflinchings. On to the boots. The boots, their element doesn't matter in PvP really. You could go better already in case you do get an orb to spawn, but you're not going to really get enough orbs to spawn anyways. But I have a shotgun holster on and a resilience mod. I just unlocked the shotgun holster, so that's why I didn't switch it. But I run shotgun holster here. This is way because I run Teraba, and you don't really want to switch off your Teraba to reload your shotgun ever. You want to keep Teraba out as much as possible. This way my shotgun reloads in the background, so when I do need to pull out my shotgun, it's ready to go. And then lastly, we are running a quick charge. And now the Radiant Light will make sense to most people. The quick charge here and the radiant light here on the helmet lets me have both mods for relatively free without any issue. One thing that I could recommend to optimize this build a little better, you could run your boots here on arc, and then put the radiant light here, and then you could take the shotgun targeting off, or if you have better overall stats than me, you could run the recovery mod here, because you need 2 extra points to run your quick charge here, and you can run your quick charge here, and then you could switch this to solar and run bomber. That way you had your grenade up more often, so that way you have that chance at those double kills with your grenade. For weapons, I use a reckless engagement because I don't have a good wastelander. That is something I am looking to farm in the next couple weeks. That way I can get a better shotgun than reckless engagement. And then I run Teraba as my SMG of choice. If I run Multi-Mach instead, I run Duality. I think Duality is one of the best overall shotguns in the game. It has 80 handling inherently, so with quick charge you're at over 100 handling. So it's super quick, and then you can choose whether you just hip fire somebody down and kill them, or you can get the extra range and slug them if you have the time for it. So overall, you have plenty of options here, and Multi-Mach is still the best kinetic SMG if you'd rather run a kinetic SMG. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video, and now we're going to head into the outro. Alright guys, thank you for watching today's video. I really hope everyone learned what a lot of work into Destiny build crafting can look like, what a perfected character looks like, what the end game really is, what's the goal here, right? I know I make a lot of videos about making different builds, but I wanted to show off what happens when somebody takes those builds and actually puts some work into them, and shows like what happens when you actually get the stats that I always recommend, and you get that mod that you're looking for, and everything comes together. But I really hope everyone enjoyed this video. Hope that all the builds will be taken and be used, and I will see everyone in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like here on this video and subscribing to the channel. And I'll see everyone in the next one. Thank you all, and goodbye.
Zone A lost. Zone C lost. It's a power play. Get those zones back.